Okay. Hey, let's say that again. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Happy Sunday, everyone.
Can you hear us now?
How's everybody doing? All right, all right. You forgot to hit the mute
I
button.
know. I'm so sorry. But yeah,
Well, the way the night is gone, trying to get the internet, it was acting up, and thank
yeah.
God it's now working. So we just will
Just go with the
keep
flow.
going with the flow, and
Hmm.
go with that, and let's see what happens.
But yeah, as I was saying, I wasn't feeling well. I started feeling ill. What was it? I told you I wasn't feeling good. It was
Thursday,
it was Thursday.
you couldn't move.
Right. Like my body was just on shutdown mode. It was
Hmm.
awful.
And I know
And
you wasn't feeling well when I came home. The house was a mess. I come in 1 o'clock in the morning. The house is an absolute mess. I was like, "What is going on?" I had to clean up.
that's why you such a lovely husband.
Whatever. Hmm.
But yeah, I just wasn't feeling too cool. I really at first I thought I had COVID. I really did. And then I took the test and it came out negative. And then that was my first test I took, like maybe a day before we got ill actually. And
Hmm.
then like a little bit after I took it and it was still negative. So I was like, well, okay, it wasn't that. So I had narrowed it down to the fact that I had the flu because I had chills, I had fever. I mean not fever, I had headache, kind of bit lost the appetite and just didn't feel like moving. So I said I knew it had to be something of that nature, but not necessarily.
Hmm.
Um,
You can still taste for it. Make sure you
yeah,
say that because you said you had lost of
well that's
appetite.
right. I had lost the appetite, but I still can eat. I still could taste my food. I didn't have no issues with nothing
Yeah, you
like
got to
that.
make sure you're specific in that because if
Yeah.
you're just saying, "Oh," they be like, "Well, you did have COVID." No, you can still eat. You just wasn't hungry.
Yeah, I just wasn't hungry.
All right.
Yeah, most I slept. I think I slept most of the time. And my kids were like, "Mom, you okay?" Because they can tell that I just was not feeling well. And but I'm just so glad I'm back in some sense of reality of feeling better. So I'm happy about
I
that.
want to say, I would hope you wasn't gonna say you're back in your right mind because you know I was gonna jump on that one. I know I was
Look,
gonna jump
God
on
woke
that
me
one.
up in my right mind. So if I
No, he
say
woke
that,
you up, but I don't know about you being
yeah,
in your right mind.
but I'm definitely in my right mind. Yeah,
Mm,
I'm definitely in my right mind.
I
Yeah.
beg to differ.
Likewise.
I know I'm crazy. See, I admit that I'm crazy.
Yeah. So how was your week?
Um, a lot of sightseeing again.
Mm,
Because of COVID, I've been covering all over the UK, so a lot of sightseeing. I've been spent time in London, which I do not like because London is not made for
mm,
the space that it is.
right.
Is made is like is built not even built like New York, but
It's busy like New
is
York.
it's not even busy like New York. It's just the roads are like I hate when you have to make a left. There's like two lefts, so you have to try to decipher on your GPS. Do I make the first or the second left? And if you make the first left and it's the wrong left, oh my,
Mm,
then you're 30 minutes out the way because then you got to go all the way around to get back to where you was. So I
yeah.
do not like London for that reason. But I was in London for a couple of days
Right.
and yeah, and did a couple of other things and just my normal Cambridge
Right.
things like that. But yeah, I had a good time. I mean, missed the family, but I'm happy to be home for the weekend.
Right.
I got to be home on Friday too, so
Mm-hmm.
um, but the days went so fast. Like I was home Friday, and then now it's already Sunday.
The week be
I'm like,
sweeping.
what
The week
is
be
going
sweeping
on?
by, literally. Like it literally just.
Sweeping. I told you we're gonna blink, and our kids are gonna be 20, 18, and 14. It was or whatever it was. Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
Peter's gonna in 7 years we're gonna blink, and it's gonna feel like a month has only passed because it's been his time is going that fast.
Right.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
how do I say that? Yeah, I had a good time. Just still a little tired, but
Yeah.
gotta go work.
I just know the hardest thing for me, um, when I couldn't get up and move was that when I had to go pick up Kaya from school. That was rough. I mean, I'm dizzy walking down the street, trying to get her from school. I said, look, I didn't know it was nothing but God that got me to that school and back home because once I got back home and sat on that couch, I was out.
Yeah, well, at least you got it. Then you didn't take her on Friday because they have half
Yeah.
a day. So
Mm-hmm.
you just say, I'm just gonna stay. I just let her stay home. Let the kids go to school because they can walk to the bus
Right.
and just make it easier for you. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
But otherwise for that, yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better because
yeah.
when you're sick, it's like the end of the world. You
Like
say I
the whole
you
house
say
just closed down.
it don't close down
Everybody
because I
just
still handle
can't
my
function.
whatever. It can function. I handle the business, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't be saying that. No, 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 no.
Uh,
Because I can cook, I can clean, I can do whatever I gotta do. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I
but
love about you. You get in there and you do what you got to do. If I'm not well, you see about the kids, you cook, you clean, you do all those things. And some husbands won't do that. They'll
some
be
wives
like,
won't do that.
some
Forget
wives won't do
husband.
that too. I'm just saying. Well, okay, fine. Wives and husbands, some of them won't do that. Be like, wait till they get better and they'll leave everything the way it is. Be like, we can't roll like that. We got to be able to chip in and dip in when it's time.
That's true.
You
That's
know what I'm
true.
saying?
So we're gonna get like I said, welcome to the Goddess Real and Raw podcast. We
That's
forgot to
right.
say that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We thank everybody for joining us. We hope that you will enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get right into it.
All right. You want to pray?
Yeah, you can pray.
All right. Lord, thank you so much for this day, for allowing us to wake up in our right minds and allow us to be able to be here and talk about intimacy and balance in marriage, and just give us the words to say and just let it flow the way you want it to flow, and let people receive something from it. Lord, I pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's roll with it.
Let's roll. So intimacy and balance in a marriage. So we've been going back and forth all week of what we're going to talk about and how we're going to present it to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
What did you decide that you wanted to go with the first question, and what was the question that you had? Because I know you had a whole bunch of questions.
I would say, what would you do? Not what would you do? I don't think that was the right one. Um, I was looking up some things too, also. So, like, let's say we had some conflict in our marriage. Well, in the sense of one person is not in the mood to do something, and it's the mutual. I would say it has to be something mutual between us both to say, okay, we're not going to do it. But if you or if I don't want to, I just can't tell you I don't want to do it without giving you some type of explanation, especially if that's something that you want at that moment. It can cause,
No, because I honestly, in my view, you don't have to explain yourself, because if you're with somebody and you're married to the person, most times you can kind of tell why they're not, unless it's like you're mad at me, but then I know you're mad at me, so I'm like, well, you're mad at me, so that's why.
yeah, the thing
Um,
about that is why when you mad is that's the first thing to go. The
no, not
first
all the
thing to
time,
go.
not
Yeah,
all the time.
sometimes.
No, it's I know,
I
to
say
me,
in some
in some
marriages,
marriages, but I think
yeah.
sometimes it's the first thing to go, because you just lose that mood. Like, like, say we're having a romantic dinner,
Hmm.
and it's coming to the end of the dinner, and then I say something stupid that
Right,
just totally kills the mood.
right,
If the mood is killed, then there's no getting the mood back.
right,
So then it's just like, oh well, I guess it'll be another night, or be another day.
right,
So it just depends on the circumstance. Some people will withhold it when they're mad as a punishment, but that's just on their part. That's not cool. I mean, you don't, unless you have a reason. I don't think that you should withhold it from your spouse.
right,
Um, you know, but then also we've been looking over some things, and we know when we got together. First off, the thing was that we wanted kids,
right.
so we knew that we was gonna be going so that we can have kids.
Hmm.
So we was gonna keep at it until the first kid popped out,
Right,
literally. Then the thing was that after the first kid popped out, then it became the point of, that's when I think the intimacy was really tested, because then
right.
you went through postpartum,
Hmm.
you went through fear of getting pregnant again,
Hmm.
you went through fear of, and at that time we was also going through what we talked about before with the abuse in the past podcast.
Right,
We was going through a big change in our lives with me being deported. It was a lot of stress. Like, sometimes stress will cause an issue with intimacy.
right,
And so if we both can balance our lives to understand that it's not that, there was nights that you was like, you just go to sleep, I'm tired, you just go to sleep.
right.
You know, especially when the kid came, I would get home and you would literally shut down at like 8 o'clock. And I got to give the kid a bath, get him, put him in bed because, it had knocked out sleep on the couch. And I'm like, what the heck? And then the funny thing, you'll be talking to me all day. Like, I can't wait to get home. We can spend some time together tonight. Yeah, And I'm like, yes. And then I get home and I'm like, what is going on? But I had to understand that, that you was tired. You had a long day. You were still adjusting to being a mother. You was still adjusting. You had to, PJ, he was running around. He was very active.
Right.
So I had to understand the balance of that, even though I may want it, doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to get it.
And then the hardest part, I ain't gonna say hard part. After I had the kids, after I had the baby, I was scared to get pregnant again. I didn't want to be, just had a baby and then boom, here we go, pregnant again with another child. I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready to do back-to-back situation.
Yeah, I understand that. But like I said, with the
and
intimacy,
then you still healing. Why do some husbands?
You're not healing 4 months later, 3 months later.
It take a woman a long time to heal.
Take 3 months
after having a baby, pushing out a child.
Okay, 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months.
Still, it takes time.
See, look at you. You're trying to,
it's easy for a man to say that because they don't have a vajayjay. But I'm just saying, as far as for the women, they have to go through that type of stuff.
I understand that. But how long? So how long should a man wait? 6 months?
It should wait till their wife is ready.
So if it's 6 months, I should wait 6 months.
Look.
Yeah, Frederica says 6 weeks. See, that's what I'm talking about. 6 weeks.
Well,
not no until the woman's ready. So it could be a whole year before you're ready.
Do you the men? Most men are in the mood more than the women sometimes. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So sometimes it could be that the woman just tired, or she just don't want to do it, or maybe she done met her quota. You know what I mean? Like
in her mind?
Yeah, in her mind. Because depending on some relationship, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 times, maybe sometimes 5 times do it out the week. Like, what is your recommendation? What is your number?
Well, it's a personal thing. So in that sense of like, for me, I think 2 to 3, depending on the time frame, depending on the time that you have, or that, if I don't get home late, I'm not tired.
Right.
2 to 3 weeks. I mean, 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah, about that.
I can do about 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, right.
But I can't go. I can't go no further than that, though. I don't think I can. I think it just depends. It depends.
We have established that,
depends.
And we, with me and you, we have come to that kind of agreement where we know how far we can push it and how far we can't.
Right.
And then we have weeks where, not unfortunately, but we have weeks where we may not even the whole week. Yeah, because we're just too busy. Sometimes you get so busy, it just, you don't have even time. It
just don't happen sometimes.
I mean, we've been married 16 years, and it's like, okay, after a while, you're just like, man, I can't even, like, not tonight. I'm just, I need to go to sleep. Like, I need to sleep more than that.
Right.
I already know what you are. You're 16 years. I'm good. We can catch up next week, or catch up in 2 weeks or whatever.
Right.
But, it's just, but I think intimacy is not, it's just more than sex. Is more than that. There's other things that are involved with being intimate with each other. Just like just buying stuff, like things that the other person likes,
right?
Or doing things. Like for me, you rubbing my feet. That's very intimate to me. I love that.
Yeah, you do. You like,
but I won't rub your feet. I rub them,
and I want my feet rubbed sometimes.
I rub them.
When?
I just rubbed them the other night.
Okay, what's the other night, Peter? Your other night can be a month ago.
Excuse me. I wasn't home this week, but the other night when I was home, I rubbed them. Did I not? Thank you very much.
But you got different, like you said, you got different things of intimacy. Some people like flowers. Some people like, you don't like candles. I'm just naming different things.
Yeah, I used to love flowers until somebody. But I understand you like flowers, so I understand you love flowers. So I know that I need to get better with that, with the flower things. I do recognize that concept that I need to get better with the flowers and giving them to you, because you really do love them, even though you pretty much threw them in my face 17 years ago. But I digress. We will not go to that
Please
back to that
don't
past.
live in the past. Just let it go.
Yeah, don't live in the past. It's
Don't live
amazing,
in.
you know. Women always say when it's them, don't live in the past. But if it was you, you'd be like, you remember when? You remember how? You remember where?
Mm.
You remember what? So whatever, you know, whatever. But yeah, I think that just I think being intimate is such a is something that both couples have the couple have to come to an agreement with and an understanding with from the get-go.
Right.
And then you have to be consistent with that, because if you're not consistent, then it can really cause issues in your marriage
Right.
going forward. um
Because for me, I like when we like sit and have conversations and talk. That shows me that you listening to me. That's like that. That's like some type of intimacy right
why?
there.
Because you don't never listen to me. We can have a conversation and then the next day you'll be like, oh, what? I say it and be like, what you talking about? I'm saying, we talked about it last night. You'd be like, no, we didn't. I'm like,
No,
yes, we
no.
did.
What I'm saying is that like when
You have selective memory.
what I'm saying is when we able to sit and have conversations and stuff like that, and we just bantering, with each other. That's intimacy. That's the sign. That's a part of intimacy for me. That's what I like. I like us to sit and talk, and I like to know what you're thinking and all the different type of things.
And I do
So
talk. I don't talk to you.
I said you do.
Okay,
Are
thank
you
you.
listening?
No, I was listening because I was reading somebody writing, I don't get flowers anymore because they don't last. That's why I stopped getting flowers.
Well, I like flowers because I
Because
like
they
the way they
die.
smell.
They die within like a week.
I
Like,
still, I still like me some flowers. I don't care if they die.
you don't
That's
care
what
if
I
they
like.
die?
Yeah, I don't care if they die.
Whatever. Once in a
Hmm.
once okay, like let's make a deal on the radio. Once a month?
Every once a month. Okay, I can do once a month.
All right, cool. I can do once a month.
Yeah, I can do that.
I put you on the spot, so you have to
Yeah, you
answer.
did.
Smart.
Ooh. What kills intimacy for you?
um Attitude and resentment, doing it for um the wrong reason.
Mm,
Like and you know this for a fact, I don't believe that just because we should do we could do it, we should do it.
right.
Because I just hate that feeling of like just laying there, or just like, just it don't feel right, and I
Right.
don't get no satisfaction out of that. So I want
Mm,
us to both be into it.
be in the mood.
Right, be in the mood, because that's how the intimacy grows. If you don't,
Mm,
we didn't even point this out, but more than anything else, and we always say this, and I know, but we our main thing is to make sure our life is good with God first, and then the intimacy comes next.
right.
Um, because if we're both happy, and I know I'm happy, just loving the Lord. If I'm happy, then you're happy. I think sometimes if we try to do things, if I try to do something for you that will make you happy, that would, and it's funny though, because some things I do don't make you happy, but it makes me happy.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna be happy, but she's like, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's not going. I guess that didn't go the
That's
way I
not
had it.
gonna work.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in my brain. So it's just you have to. I think too. Also, intimacy can be killed when you don't communicate,
Right.
and that you're trying for something,
Hmm.
but the other person may not want it as much as the other person,
Yeah.
and until you have that conversation
But
and
that can be a
get on
scary
the
thing in a marriage because if one person want it, what I'm saying, they want to be intimate with their wife or husband. If that's something that they want, and the other person like, look, I'm not in the mood right now. Then if it keep happening that way, then guess what? Infidelity can happen. Other thoughts
you
of
go
different
straight to
things.
infidelity. Why
It's
does
the
infidelity
truth.
have to happen? It don't always
I
happen.
said in some cases it
In some
does
cases,
because
yeah.
if it goes for a long time, if it goes for a long time and I'm just like, no, I'm not, I don't feel like it today, or I don't feel like it.
Okay, so then why can't they do what I did when
What's
that
that?
happened with us?
What?
Come and talk to you.
Communicate, yeah. Like, why is it that you don't want to do
See,
it?
that's a cop out to say that infidelity can happen because that's just the first thing that everybody always looks at. But if you're in love with somebody and you're married to somebody, there's no reason for you to cheat on a person. If you go cheat on a person, then you want to cheat on. You didn't have to
You
be.
wanted
You
to
didn't.
cheat anyway.
Yeah, you didn't have to have an infidelity, or you didn't have to not be getting it to go and cheat because people cheat even when they're getting it from the spouse.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't agree with that statement in the sense of that because if the person wants to cheat, they're gonna go cheat anyway.
Yeah.
It don't matter if the person was not giving it up at that time or not being
Right.
submissive towards their husband or their wife.
Right.
So that's just an excuse. That's just like that's just like saying, well, you made me do it. No, you
Mm.
made yourself do it. You did
Right.
it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, guess what? We are where we are now. So I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I always laugh when people go right to well, it could be cheating in there and stuff. No, it don't have to be.
So what's that thing when I just don't feel like it? Then that's not a good enough answer to tell your mate because you just don't want to do it.
Sometimes you just don't want to do it. Sometimes you just don't feel like you're just tired. If you say, look, I'm tired tonight, I'm just tired. Okay, you're tired.
Or
And
you're not
then
mentally thinking about it, so you just don't want to do it. Basically.
yeah. Are you talking about yourself? Because that
No, I'm just
sounds
saying, do you have to be mentally, like, seriously, do you have to be mentally thinking about it to say, okay, I want to do it?
again,
I
are you
want to be
talking about
intimate.
yourself?
No, I'm not talking about myself. I'm serious. No, I'm saying.
Okay.
You don't think so?
Probably have to have some kind of yeah. Unless you got to be spontaneous sometimes. You have to have a little spontaneous, be spontaneous sometimes in order to, because you can't always like plan it. Not like you can put it in your calendar. Okay,
Some
on the
people write down
15th.
they when they gonna do. They be
Those
like,
are
okay,
those
are
are people
you
that are trying to have a kid or something or
right? But
like
I'm
that.
just saying, some people that don't does that too. They don't
Yeah,
have to be
but
necessarily having
that's
kids.
people that maybe they got busy schedules, so they want to which is crazy too, because you got to have some kind of you got to be spontaneous somewhat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't sit there and be like, oh, I can fit you in at 9 o'clock on Tuesday evening. Let's make an appointment. That's not intimate. That's not balanced. That's just like control.
Yeah,
So no,
you know, people like us, like they have more than one child. How do we balance that? Like, make sure we put the kids to bed at a certain time, and
it don't matter because the
no, I'm
kids
just
will
saying.
wake up and be knocking on the door, be like, ah, mom, dad, I can't sleep. I'm like, why not? I don't know. Like,
Right,
yeah, it's just you have to just learn to balance. You have to learn to accept and compromise, which
right.
we talked about last week. We have to learn to compromise and balance
Hmm.
how we just go about it each day.
Right,
We have you have some days where it's gonna happen, and then you have some days when you're like, okay, you can, like, for me, I know I can tell by your attitude.
yeah, the way I talk or something.
No, not even when you talk, just the way you move, just the way you're moving, and just the way your actions. I could just tell by your body motion.
Right,
Um, you know, if it's okay or if you're just too tired. I could just tell.
right.
But we've been together 16 years.
So you kind of can
Yeah,
pick
I
it
can
up.
read. I can feel it and read it up and read it. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I could, um. So but everybody's different.
Yeah,
Some people can't read their spouse or anything like that.
yeah. That's why communication comes into play. Like, for you to talk about, look, if you talk about these things and you express to him or her, look, I want us to be able to do this and more. Can you make that happen? You know what I'm saying? And if they don't make it happen at a certain amount, a certain time and weeks go by, then it's like, then you go back and revisit, like, why come this
Well,
not happen?
that happened with us. I mean,
Mm,
we went through dry spells and periods where it just wasn't happening.
yeah,
I mean, like I said, some of it I knew why because of the circumstances that we was in.
right.
So it was obvious of why it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then when things got better and we start working on our marriage and we start getting our marriage on the right path,
Right.
it was still happening. And I was like, hey, you asked me to do this. Now I'm asking you to do that. So then
Mm-hmm.
you have to step up your game. Be like, okay, you have to be more receptive
Mm-hmm.
because it's human nature. You probably still have a little bit in the back of your mind, or it's still, the past.
Mhm.
But you had to step up your game and be like, okay, um, I need to be more accessible, more submissive.
Right.
Because in the beginning of the marriage, you was submissive, but were not. You wasn't trying to be as submissive as you probably will be now.
Right.
And that's in anything, not just in intimacy and balance, just anything
Mhm.
in life.
Right.
You was not being, you still had a little bit of a that southern firecracker in you, and you wasn't trying to, I'm not doing that. I'm a grown woman, so he was
Mhm.
like, I'm not, so
Right.
I think it just after time you get older and you start to learn more, and we learn more about each other, because each day
Right.
we're still learning about each other.
We are. We are.
So, like, like I said, probably when we marry 20 years or 30 years, God willing, we're still going to be learning from something new about each other.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it just works out that way.
You know what worked for me when I wasn't feeling like I wanted to, I actually was praying and I was like, Lord, help me to be more ready to be intimate with my husband. Because at one point, I don't even think I was even thinking about it. I was just like,
Well,
you know,
that's because of the situation.
right. But I'm just saying, not even that. I'm just saying, like, even after the kids, I was like, I was more focused on, okay, making sure the kids straight, um, making sure dinner was done, making sure the house was, done, all of that type of stuff. I wanted to make sure that that was straight. My last thought was being intimate because
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, I already got like 2 kids in the row, running around. I didn't want to be like, a
Whatever.
mom with a whole like 5, 6 kids just running around.
Yes, you did. You wanted 4 or
I
5.
did, but I'm
You
just
was mad when I snip. You was like, I can't believe you
but
want to
I'm but
do it.
but no, what I'm saying is that I didn't want to just keep, getting pregnant boom, 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 every time you turn around and every time we, what I'm saying, we did something. Because it seemed like when we did, boom, I was pregnant.
No, it took us 9 years to have 3 kids. That's one every 3 years.
But that's still a lot.
No, it's not. It took you that long to recuperate, is what you're saying? Whatever. We have somebody that says no connection, no matter how big or small, leads to less, no sex. Being connected mentally is important.
I agree with that.
Yes, you have to be connected mentally, and that's where the communication comes in. So, like when we did not, if I didn't like something, I'll come and I'll talk to you, and then I didn't expect you to change like that very moment. I will give
Right.
you time to change,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a week or two, and then if it still didn't change, I'll say, hey, remember the conversation we had?
Right.
What were we doing about that, and the same thing goes for me. You'll come talk to me.
We didn't have some arguments. I remember when I came to you one time and I was like, Pedro, is it that you're not that you're not attracted to me anymore? Or like, cause
Oh,
at one no, at one
you was
point,
emotional on that one.
yeah, because at one point you was, I know you was working and stuff a lot, but then it's just like you came home, you ate, you slept, you went back to work. You know what I'm saying? You sleep and you went back to work. It wasn't time for intimacy with us. And at first I was like, well, then what's up? Like, what's going on with you? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so what answer do you remember giving me?
I'm tired. Plain and simple. I think I was doing like 3 jobs at the time. I barely enough. I think I said, I can't say it on the radio, but I said I can't even go to the bathroom in peace. I don't even have time to go to the bathroom, much less be intimate with my wife. I barely had time to do anything. I was eating on the road. I was working like crazy.
Mm,
I was working almost 7 days a week.
mm,
So yeah, it just wasn't. At that time, it just wasn't happening.
mm.
Didn't mean I lost my love for you or lost my desire for you. It just was not happening.
Yeah,
So that's the way it goes sometimes.
yeah. I
And it's
understand that.
time. It was times when where you was ready to go and I wasn't ready, and I was ready and you wasn't ready. You
Yeah.
know, you have your spurt where you just like constant, and I'm like, okay, we gotta ease up. You need to slow down a bit. Like, all
Yeah.
right, I know I said I all the time, but okay, we need to stop for a minute because I'm tired.
I think your
I need
age I
I
think
need
your
to
age got
recuperate.
to you.
Yeah,
I think your age started creeping up and then so it had to be one of those things.
yeah, I agree with that. We have somebody that says me,
Dave.
men. It says not me. He meant to put men, but men are always ready. Well, for the ladies, is a different issue.
Mm,
Romance, flowers, sweet talks, the whole package.
mm.
Yeah, that's true. But now with this chick, next to me, mm-mm. It's I maybe in the beginning, but I guess as we got older, it's changed.
Right.
Would you say it's definitely
I would
changed?
say when you start going through different situations in your marriage, start learning more about each other, start having different problems that may arise, you're gonna at some point sometimes it's gonna be where it's all the time and sometimes it's gonna be where it's just like you said, it's some dry spots where it's just not gonna be what you think it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's why I was saying, like, you're gonna have dry spots. You're gonna have time when it's just not gonna happen. But you
Mhm.
just have, you just have to try to work it through that time. Understand that it's just for that moment. It's just that time,
Mhm.
and nothing more than that. We definitely throughout our marriage have had where we was like jackrabbits, and then we had times when we was like the sand bunnies,
Saying but
dry as a bone, So it's what it is, But it didn't affect the way we acted towards each other. It didn't affect the way we was towards each other.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things. It just happens. That's the way you have to try to get that balance so that it could be right.
Right.
That's where you have to try to get that balance where it could be. We understand that right now it's just not the time. But doesn't mean that next week or next tomorrow won't be.
Right. What do you tell someone that's just having, children and stuff like what do you tell a couple or people that may be going through that where the intimacy kind of slows down? That can cause issues in a marriage if that's
Always
the
communication, because
mm,
like you said, when you first, I understood when you first had Pedro, you were so definitely afraid of getting pregnant again. So you was trying to limit it as much as possible. You dried up like the Sahara Desert. You was like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, hey, like, just because we had a child, there's like you say, I need time to recuperate. That was 6 months
because
in.
it's because in some marriages some people don't feel like condoms is an option. They like no,
Excuse me, but
no condoms.
that's not the point. I'm talking about 6 months in. He's like, I'm still recuperating. I'm like, no, you not.
Well, we would have if you would have used some protection.
What you mean? What you talking about? You
Just
go,
saying.
you go, you going there like use
Yeah,
protection.
I
What?
just went there.
Whatever. I'm married to you. Why I need to use protection?
Because if a woman just having a baby, the high risk of her getting, pregnant again, if you say
You
it
wanted
is what
another
it is.
kid almost right away.
Not necessarily, no, I didn't.
Anyway, now you whatever you want. You know what? That's fine, but no. Sorry. If we're married, I don't. No. No, I do a lot of things, and I compromise on a lot of things. I don't compromise on that. I rebuke that statement in the name of Jesus and whatever else and everything else and whatever's and that whatever's and what everything that's holy. But no, I rebuke that statement. No way
Oh my
that
goodness.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna no.
How would
You
you
don't even you didn't even like condoms.
no, because they plastic. You know what I'm saying? They plastic latex but I'm allergic to latex stuff. So that's why
So
I
then
never
why are you
can.
getting on me talking about something
I
I
was
should have
just
used?
saying they have so much different types out there that probably maybe worked at that time. But it doesn't even matter now because we don't even use it.
Exactly. So what was the point of you bringing it up then? Oh, that's my point. You really gonna go there? Like really? Okay, okay. Anyway, like I was saying, but yeah, 6 months like that forever. That is forever.
Mm,
It wasn't like it was none at all for 6 months. It was just very sporadic.
right.
It
Yeah.
was
It
just
happened. It just
very.
didn't happen as often as
It was
you
like
probably
every blue
wanted it
moon.
to.
It was like when the blue moon came up and was the moon went full and it was like hallelujah, the moon is full. That means I'm getting something tonight. Yes, but nah, yeah, that's about it. Otherwise
Yeah.
for that it was like I'm tired.
Going into
Um,
marriage, how did like your outside like dating and stuff before you got married? How did that affect your intimacy going into marriage? Is that the right question to
yeah,
ask?
we had talked about that.
Mm,
Before being married, um, I was kind of can I say the word? Can I say the H word.
No,
Yeah, I can't say the H word.
no,
Okay.
you can't.
Um, I was very what's that word? Promiscuous.
Mm, you was
Yeah, that's the word.
what,
Yeah,
no, you was
I was
sowing
very,
your
yeah, I
seeds,
was sowing my oats and my
your oats.
seeds.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, I
something
wasn't
like
sowing my
that.
seeds because that's plenty. No, I was definitely sowing my oats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
and I also was probably as a young kid, looking at porn, and the thing about porn, it will dilute your brain
Mhm,
and your reaction to things to think that it's supposed to be a certain way because you're looking at actors on TV.
mhm,
And so then you start getting that false sense of reality
mhm.
of like, oh, this house should be.
Right,
So then when you do finally have, relations with your spouse, you think it's supposed to be that way, but it's
mhm,
not.
right.
They don't react the same way that they do on TV.
Yeah,
And then some people get mad and be like, why you react that way? Why didn't you make noise? Why didn't you this? Why didn't you that? Like, you
right,
want, and so it convolutes your whole, you know, being and your whole mind and thinking that it's something that it's not.
right.
It definitely affected me a little bit. Where I think when we first got together, I was addicted to porn.
Mhm,
And I think, to be honest, sometimes like when you didn't want to give it, I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll
mhm,
go handle my business,
mhm.
and then I'll be good. But then it just messed us up in the sense of when the time did come, then I would not be fully ready.
Right, or not always really into
Right.
it.
Not really into it because, I've been, pleasing myself, and now when it's time to please both of us, I can't perform. So
And that happens in some marriages. They, they lose their intimacy because they pleasing themselves and they can't now please each other. But so now that become an issue.
hmm
But then and it's sometimes hard to come back from because especially if you into it like deep and you're not willing to, say, okay, I'm gonna stop this because if I don't, it's gonna cause it's gonna cause issues because
oh yeah.
it's gonna cause real
Yeah,
big
because it,
issues.
it gives you a false sense of reality, and that
Right.
false sense can really affect your marriage
Mhm.
because then you're thinking, like I said, oh, this is what it should be like,
Right.
and it's nothing like that at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, you got to be careful about in that sense of things of that nature.
Right.
Um, and I think just going out there, and unfortunately, I was very, like I said, sowing my oats and
Right.
um, just doing things I should not have been doing.
Right.
Nothing that I'm proud of,
Right.
but is my past, and I've learned from it.
Right.
Um, it just affected, because I was married before too.
Mhm.
Even when I got with you, I had to be different in our marriage because in my first two marriages, I was not the best husband or the best father
Right.
in some instances that I could have been.
Right.
So each time I learned something new, what to do, what not to do.
Right.
And then when I met you, I still had to learn. I still messed up. I mean, it's a learning process. We all
Yeah.
learn.
Because
So
every person is different and
yeah,
every marriage is different. You
that's
can't
right. Yeah.
you can't combine the two
Mm,
as if they was the same because
no.
it's not that's not the case.
Yeah.
But
How about for you and your intimacy, and I already know what you're gonna say because you
but
say it all the time because you say it to me all the time. So I already know, but I'm asking you anyway.
well, for me, I would say I wish I would have waited to have sex.
I knew you was gonna say that.
I'm serious. I wish I would have waited until I got married. I really regret um having sex before marriage and and giving myself to someone that I no longer deal with, period. And just being out there experimenting different things is just wasn't something that I'm happy about. I don't like that I went through it, that I did it. Because now that I sit back and I think about like, dang, I remember when I did this, I remember when I did that. If I knew what I knew now and the person I am today and what my mindset is, I definitely would have did what I did in the past. I would have definitely made better choices and just would have waited into, not saying that my husband that I would have married would have been a virgin, but for me, it would have been that, okay, I'm starting with someone that, you know, that I can grow to love and that I'm married to and that I'm
Mhm.
giving myself to my husband and not to some random guy
Yeah.
because I like him.
And it is possible to be a virgin until you. We tell our children all the time. It is
Yeah,
possible to be a virgin.
right.
We know people that have done it
Mhm.
and waited till they, got married, and then, and so I mean, and just thinking about it in that sense, yeah, I think I said to you, I wish I didn't lose my virginity because the person I definitely, don't wish I did that. Would have changed my whole. Maybe I'd have been a different person.
Right.
Um, Instead of when my first time.
Right.
But I always tell you that you can't be upset or mad about the past because you have to look at it like this. You're older now, so you know better.
Right.
But when you was younger, you couldn't be told nothing.
That's right. I couldn't.
So
I wanted
you
to do what I
can't
wanted to
you
do.
can't sit here now and say I wish because
Right.
you didn't.
Yeah.
So you just have to say, you know what? I learned from that mistake. Now
Mhm.
pass it on to somebody else.
Right.
And from your life experience, you can say, hey, I've been there. I've done this. Now, you think it's gonna feel good, you think it's gonna be great, you think,
Right.
and it's not gonna be any of those things. I'm here to tell you.
Right.
So you know what? I'm just trying to get you to understand that you don't need to. That's what I stressed that to my two oldest boys when they was younger. I was just sending pictures of Pampers and baby formula. Bryce would tell you, and my oldest, he'll tell you, he'll be like, "Oh, Dad used to send me pictures all the time, like just random pictures." He'd be like, "I know, Dad, I know."
Right.
And so I really stress that, going forward because um you can't I always say to you, you can't worry about what you did in the past.
I'm
It's what
not. I'm
happened.
not. You know what it is when I connected with the person, right? And when I first, had sex or whatever, when I first did that, I really thought that, oh, he loved me. Oh, he gonna be with me. We're gonna be together. We're gonna get married. That was in my mind. You know what I'm saying? That was gonna happen. And when it didn't happen, I was hurt. Because I'm like, wait a minute. I gave you me. I gave you myself. And now nothing is even coming out of it. Nothing.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, and I learned from that because I was like, well, dang, you can't just be so willing to just give yourself to someone. That doesn't mean they feel the same way you feel.
True.
You know what I'm saying? The way I felt, he definitely didn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Because it ended, bad. So I'm just like, I put all this, and for me, in my mind, I was in love. But I think
No,
for
you was
him,
in lust.
well, for me, I'm saying at that time, for me, I was in love. So for me at that time, I didn't think about lust. For me, it
Oh, so
was
you was
love.
you was ready to spend the rest of your time, the rest of your life with that person?
Yeah, because I was like, well, I had sex with them, so I'm like, if I did that, then maybe that connection would keep us together. You
Oh,
got
just
to
like
remember,
people.
at that time, I was young, so you're immature. So the
Hmm.
way you think at that time is totally different than what I know today.
Oh, it's like when people say we have a child that help our marriage or help
Yeah,
our
some people like,
relationship.
oh, if I have a baby, then it'll he'll stay with me or she'll stay with me or whatever the situation may be, or they feel like they got you locked in situation, and
Hmm.
not all the time that keeps someone or make someone stay or make them love you even more. It's just sometimes easy. Somebody gonna get hurt at the end.
Oh, always,
Mhm.
always. That's always the case. Somebody's always going to get hurt
Mhm.
because um, let's say somebody has said, "I wish I would have waited. I gave way too much of me to the wrong person." Live and learn. People
Mhm.
live and learn. Yep,
You do.
that's what I was just saying. Like
You
you
do.
you live and learn from what happened in the past. I mean, you wish you wouldn't have did. I wish I wouldn't have did certain things, but I did,
Right.
but now I know I can. I way I look at it is I can teach my children and teach other people. When I see them going down that path, be like, look, you don't want to go down this path because this was going to happen.
Right.
You have that life experience. Life experience is very good to teach other people.
Right.
I think that's what we're trying to do with
You're right, David.
Yeah, Leah in the Bible thought if she had a child with Jacob, she'd be loved more. Exactly.
She
Yeah.
did. She did. She thought that,
Yeah.
oh, he'll love me more. I got his baby,
Mm-hmm.
and that don't all the time
Or
mean
even better
that.
yet, like with like I have his child, he'll leave his wife for me.
Right. Or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that can
That's
happen.
always the case. Mm.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and next thing you know, it's like, nah, you're the side piece,
Right.
and you're unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, just in general, I just want to be able to teach other people. With us doing this podcast, that was our goal in doing this podcast, is just to, from my life experience, just tell people and show people, um, what to do and what not to do.
Right.
And
Right.
how to do the right thing and what not to, what not to do. And we're not even saying, because we're definitely not perfect.
Right.
We just wanted to just show out, just tell people that you're not the only one out there,
Mm-hmm.
that there's other people like you,
Right.
especially in the Adventist culture that we live in.
Right.
um we don't like to talk about a lot of things that, we don't like to talk about sex.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to talk about abuse. We
Mm-hmm.
don't like to talk about marriage. Everything got to be, hunky-dory and clean. And and I just feel that we do a disservice to our children. And then we wonder why our children grow up and they're going into the same problems we went into, or
Right.
they're doing worse than what we did, because they have no direction and no leadership and showing them where to go and what not to do and what to do.
Right.
So I always thought that, we need to just show the right path for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And with ourselves in our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
we're still working on it. We still have our moments, we
Right.
still have our arguments, we still have our disagreements,
Mm-hmm.
and we still have where we're like, like we're trying to figure out how we're gonna, like I still get mad,
Right.
because I come to bed, I'm ready to go, and you're snoring away, and I'm like, oh, forget it. Like, and then you in the morning, you be like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, oh man,
Yeah.
you wanted to do something.
Yeah. I was like, no. Yeah, you did. I'm like, no.
Oh
And
my
you're like,
goodness.
yeah, see, so it still happens. I mean, but we learn,
Mm-hmm.
the balance that, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that is always a good thing. You want to play a clip, I see.
Yeah. Well, you pulled it up. So Peter had a video that he looked up. Tell them about it,
I
Peter.
didn't look it up. I was
I mean
looking.
that he
I
came
was just
across.
come across. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, then tell them
No,
about
I
it.
don't need to tell them about it. They can watch
Well,
it.
we're gonna share the screen and talk about this. Let's play this video for you
And
guys.
that's for those on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
Then we
So let us know if you can hear it good and see it pretty well. You ready?
ready.
Some conversations we as couples never have. We have to be able to have conversations about expectations. We have to be on the same page. If he says that intimacy needs to happen 5 times a week, and I'm sitting over here saying, oh, twice is great, then we are not in agreement.
We are not the same.
Because, and a part of it is we sometimes come into things with these not unrealistic expectations, but it's just expectations that we hadn't talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about it. So I have an expectation and you have one. And when you expect something from me, you will get frustrated when I don't meet that expectation. But I didn't know about the expectation.
Come on, girl.
I didn't know that you expected 5. I expected 2. My needs was met. But you were sitting over here with needs unmet. And you flip that on the other side. It's the same way, ladies. It's important that we know what to ask for from our spouse, because he can't give it if you're not going to say it.
It's some good stuff, girl.
He can't. He didn't know that I didn't like flowers. You never, ever, ever in life have to bring me flowers. But if he bring me Skittles, now he's speaking my love language, because that's what I like. But he would not have known that had I not communicated that I don't like flowers. So he thought he was doing something great by bringing me flowers. Well, I don't like them. I don't like them. But that comes through communication. that comes through us sitting down and talking about and being mature married people, because we grown and we have to have grown people conversations and we have to talk about what grown people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And grown people talk about needs. Grown people communicate what they need. And so you say that, hey, what is it that, and so me even being able to ask you that, do you think that I'm submissive? Most of us don't want to know the answer to that. If you honestly ask your spouse, you don't really want to know the answer. So you sometimes, and it's so true, we have trained our spouses what to ask and what not to ask us. Because if you ask me certain things and I always get an attitude, I'm teaching you, don't ask me that no more.
Goodness.
Don't ask me that anymore. But we have to, and so here's the thing, sister friend. This is when I say, me and y'all leave the room, sister friends. We have to get before Jesus and we have to really own up and we have to really see, we got to, hey God, I need to be healed. I need to be healed because I'm so broken that can't nobody say nothing to me.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had watched that and about the fact about that you got, well, we already agreed that the Lord always has to be first in the marriage.
Right.
But what she was talking about with the coming to an agreement,
Right.
like, she's expecting 2, but I'm expecting 5.
Right.
So we, expectations is not there.
Right.
That's what I was thinking of, like, you can't expect something that if you haven't had the conversation, you can't expect something. Like I know somebody that once told me that when they got married, they told the person that they didn't want children.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got married and the husband kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. She divorced him. Because she told him, I don't want children. So, but see, that was the expectation. She had told him the expectation before they got married. You have to have that conversation of what the expectation is going to be before you get married. So that way you don't have no misconceptions or misunderstandings going forward. Now things do change. I've always said
situations change.
Yeah, I've always said that
your mind may change.
Like for us, actually, we had an expectation when we got married. What was the expectation? Do you remember? What was your expectation when we got married? What did you ask me?
I asked you, did you want children?
Right.
Did you want to get remarried?
Right. And what did I tell you?
And you said, yes, you wanted to have children. And of course you wanted to get remarried, but you wanted to have kids before you went 40, before your 40th birthday.
So you knew we was married 10 years before this happened. You knew when I turned 40 that I was going to go and have a vasectomy.
I knew that.
You knew that from the jump. So
did.
there was no
surprise.
No surprise, no nothing.
Yeah.
My birthday is what, March 2nd? March 19th, I was in the doctor's.
Yeah.
I always say that's my birthday gift to myself. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
No, you get mad when I say that. I'm like, it's my anniversary. You're like, Pedro, shut up. Be quiet, whatever. But
yeah.
It's the expectations. You expected me at 40 to say that. And when I turned 40, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But it was no shock. It was no like shock to the system.
Right.
You knew for 10 years.
Right.
You have to have
those
make
conversations.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
You have those, so the expectation is there. So that's why I like that clip so well. And somebody said that was really good. That's why I like that clip, because that clip just gives you a brief synopsis of mostly anything else, communication. And then learning. Like I said to you the other night, I said, after I watched it, I said, okay, you like flowers? I have to get you flowers. Even though I don't really like flowers, I'll start getting you flowers because you do love flowers. But you do like candy too. If I bought you a chocolate, you'll be happy too. But
I'll be
like
happy
flowers.
with the chocolate now.
Yeah, I know you would be,
truth.
but
if you give me some peanuts, some honey roasted peanuts,
and I do,
then you my best friend.
Hey, but that's why we're still friends now. Well, even I don't like you, but anyway, we're getting that's a whole nother. That's a good one we could do. Do you like or love your spouse? That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I get you
But
your
I have a
peanuts.
question though. What do you do when your expectations change?
Then
You
you
talk about those expectations, right?
Mhm.
And then you both talk about, okay, this is what I want, this is what I expect. But then with the person agree or at that moment, but then later on it changes.
then you have to come to a compromise.
Yeah.
What we talked about last week. You have to come to a compromise
Yeah.
because then you have to say, okay, you know what? We gotta get to a compromise of how we can fix this
Mhm.
because things change. That's what I was saying. Like if we didn't have children and we was married and those 10 years then and I turned 40,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have did a vasectomy because I know you want kids. So we would have kept trying
Right.
because you wanted the kids until you say, okay, I'm ready to stop.
Right.
So that's where you communicate and say, okay, you know what? We had this expectation, but it didn't quite work out the way we expected it to. So now we
Right.
need to readjust our thinking.
Right.
But you have to be honest with each other in the thinking and honest with each other and saying, look, this is what I really want to do. I really don't want to do this.
Mhm.
I really don't want to do this situation because, I just don't, And I know when we got married, we said we would or we said we wouldn't, but now things have changed and now I've changed my mind a little bit.
Right.
So now and it's going to be a conversation that's going to be a hard one. It's not going to be easy conversation.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a short conversation.
No.
It may take a couple of months. It may take
A
even
year or
longer than
two.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it may take longer, but you got to keep the communication going. You got to
Mhm.
be honest with each other
Mhm.
because the worst thing that you could do being married or in any relationship is to be dishonest to yourself first,
Mhm.
because then it shows that you're being dishonest
Right.
to the other person. Just like we tell our children, we told them today, we said, I don't care if you do anything bad. If you do something wrong, our kids don't get in trouble for doing the wrong things.
Mhm.
What our children get in trouble more than anything else is when they lie.
Mhm.
When they lie about something, they get in more trouble. They know they get in more trouble than if
Right.
they just come and say, look, this is what I did.
Right.
We may be mad. We may even be a little irritated
Mhm.
and say, how could you? And they say, okay, well, this what happened. Let's try to fix it. But when they lie about it, that anger goes to another level.
Well, the worst thing you can do is hold it in and never say how you truly feel, and you going along with the whole thing, and at the end of the day, it's gonna blow over at some point. It's gonna come out.
Mm-hmm. They say
I never
you
wanted
made your
this
bed,
anyway.
now you're gonna have to lie
Right.
in it.
Right. And
Yeah.
then guess what? You got more issues now because you never was real about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes people do things to appease who they with, but you can't all the time do that if you're not on the same page.
No. And that's why I like what she was saying, about, the expectation. Then I forgot. I didn't forget, but my brain is going like a mile a minute.
Right.
So what else what did you take from that video?
Communicate. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm feeling some way, I need to say, Pedro, look, this is I don't feel like it, or I only want to. For me, me doing it two times a week is good for me, right? And if I'm telling you that that's all I want, but then you want more than what I'm able to give you, at least you know where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And if you tell me, I wanted three to maybe 5 times, just giving an example, then I'm like, okay, well, then I only wanted twice. How I supposed to make this work? So then maybe I can compromise in some way. Say, okay, maybe I can bump it up 3. Meet you halfway. You know what I'm saying? And be like, okay, I give you 3, but I ain't going over that. But some people they want more.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically, like I said, you have to just talk that thing through. And sometimes you go through moments where you may do more than 2, or you may do more than, you know what I'm saying? It just depends on at that time in your marriage where you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, actually, and thinking about that, like we even had a where where you're on your menstrual cycle, and that's when you feel like you want to do more. And I'm like, no.
I think it's like a
And
hormonal
then
thing.
it's a hormonal thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was always like right after, like I'm off. I'm like, okay, we got to wait a day or two. And he'd be like, why? I'm like, because I like to wait a day or two.
Right.
So you have to get used to that, because you'd be like, what? Wait a day or two? I'm like, no, we got to wait a day or two because we got to make sure, So
yeah.
it's about compromising. So we had,
Mhm.
we had to understand, that is whatever we both understand where we're both coming from with it
Mm-hmm.
and where we're going with it, and then we can say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're not, gonna do.
Right.
But that's where I think the intimacy and the balance all comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be intimate more than anything else. We need to be intimate with the Lord first.
Right.
I think since we have been family worship and praying in the morning and in the evening
Mm-hmm.
with each other, I think that that's helped us to better our intimacy with each other
Mm-hmm.
because we have a relationship with God, or we're
Right.
trying to get a relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's helping us to be more with each other,
In tune.
be more in tune with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's definitely one thing that we have learned, that's number one more than anything else to do,
Right.
is to be that. And if you could do that, then the rest of the marriage, everything else just falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the balance will come in.
Yeah. So what would you tell, what will be your last comment tonight about, like, what would you tell to a person in a relationship or marriage? Like, what would be the key things that you, or one key thing I would say?
I would say expectations. When you get into a marriage or you get into a relationship, the expectations need to be put out and placed out and understood, so that going forward there will be no misunderstandings. Because I think that's how a lot of marriages end up divorcing or getting into trouble, is because it's just misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's communication, but the communication was not all there. There was a little bit of miscommunication because you communicated, but you communicated the wrong way, or
Right.
you said it the wrong way. You
Mhm.
misspoke. As I said earlier to you, I was
Mhm.
saying something. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke."
Right.
So if you don't have that communication going, where the expectation is there and it's not there, I think that will help the relationship move forward more than anything else in a marriage.
Right.
What would be your take?
Sit down with one another, like, not on the phone, not texting. Actually sit down and look at each other in the face and talk about the hard things that you don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Let them see your expressions, let them see how you feel, let them know where you're coming from. And that way it won't be no misunderstandings. You'll be able to, like, look, this is how I feel, and this, I'm gonna just lay it all on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to say how you feel. Don't be afraid to disappoint them sometimes. Don't be afraid to, like, look, it's just not gonna happen type of situation. Just do it for yourself, and do it for your marriage. Do it for your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree
Mm-hmm.
with that statement,
Yeah.
and not
So.
because I love you.
I know you do.
No, I said not because I love you,
Oh.
because I don't like you, as I said before. But anyway,
Yeah. So.
but yeah, we so we have decided that that is the way that we should definitely go.
Mm-hmm.
Again, everybody does it differently.
Right.
So you learn, you live and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake.
Right.
But more than anything, don't be afraid to forgive.
Yeah.
If you can't forgive, you're not gonna go anywhere, because everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
It's just how you forgive is how you move on.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate and expectations.
Yeah.
Those are some of the key words from today's
Yeah.
podcast.
Yep.
We want to thank you all for joining us.
Thank you,
We want to
guys.
thank you all for listening in, and that we will see you next week on The God Is Real and Raw. This is Pedro.
This is Tara.
Peace.
Peace.